Hi guys, today I am doing a sailing themed card and I'm going to be using my silhouette, and as you can see I have been using the silhouette to do some designing. Now it looks a bit of a mess because where the cut files overlap, but I usually do design like this where I decide the size of my card, which is the piece of white virtual paper on there or cardstock, and then I start putting the pieces together on the card as I would anticipate them laid out when I actually finish, and that gives me several things. One, a rough idea of what the finished design is going to look like, but also it means I can adjust the sizes of the pieces so that they fit correctly within the actual card size and also the sort of in relation to each other as well. Now what we've got here is the sun, clouds, seagulls, boat, and this curvy bit here, which is the sea, is all behind on the back another piece of card, the folded inside piece of the card, which you can see through this hole here, which I'm going to cut, and that's meant to be like representing the porthole. And then on the front of the card we've got the porthole part, which is going to have a cross on it. I haven't put that on this piece. And then I'm going to have my little elements here, a little flag with a date on it, and then on up here where I've got the little crab and starfish, etc., that's actually going to be like netting, and these are just going to be kind of hanging in it. That's the plan anyway. So that's just kind of to give me a rough idea of the sizing. So then what I've done is I've gradually taken each piece and laid them out for cutting. So this is our initial aperture. So basically I'll have an A4 piece of cardstock on my mat, sorry, A5. Oh, actually I will have A4 if it happens, and I'm going to have it landscape, and then I will be able to cut that out, and then when I'm ready I will just cut that down in half by hand so that I know it absolutely fits. But then what I do know is that that's in the right position because I've copied and pasted that across and then deleted all those elements and just left that circle, so I knew it was in exactly the right place that I needed it to be cut. Then the second page I've got all my little elements and I've put them all here, and I'm going to cut them out of white cardstock and then colour in with markers. I do quite like doing that. That said, I'm not going to do it with the sea here, which is going to be in blue, so I'm going to cut that out in the blue. And then the same idea with the portholes themselves. I'm not going to cut those out in white, I'm going to cut those out in like a soft tarnished gold, so to give the effect. And here I've just added in these crosses to give the look of the porthole, and I've done a second one because I'll need a piece on the inside of the card as well to cover up the cut line of the aperture. And this piece here is a circle that I've cut sized to be between these two circles, and that's going to be my acetate, which I'm going to put between here as well, so it really gives that illusion of a porthole with glass in it. And I may even try dotting it with a little bit of glossy accents to look as if there's sort of water droplets on it, but we'll see. And then lastly we've got my compass, which I have attempted to change a cut line into a draw line, which may or may not work, so we will see. If it works then great, if it doesn't then I shall put something else in that corner. Okay, so we will see. So now I'm going to get cutting and drawing and etc. And then once that's all done, we'll come back to the table and have a look at all the pieces. Okay, so we're back at the table now. All the pieces are cut out, and as you can see they're no longer white because I've coloured them in. I used my Pro markers and Copics etc. to do that, and just coloured them in, and I colour them in while they're still on the mat. I don't peel any of the card off, literally leave it inside the cut with all the spare around it, because then as you colour you can go right over the edges. You don't have to worry about going over the edges, and it means that you can get very subtle effects around the edges because you can actually colour just to the wrong side of the cut, and it then kind of bleeds onto your piece and gives a really nice effect. So I've got some very delicate little clouds here with just some very delicate markings which hopefully you can just catch.
like that. So things like that you can get really good colouring on. And then we've got, say, the little crab. Again, really cute. So it's a nice little colouring. I've done this one. I was really pleased with my black pen. This was what drew on the silhouette. Now when I first did it, as you may recall, I changed it to a black line from a cut line, and it just didn't do anything. So I then put it back to a cut line, and it drew out, and I replaced my blade with a pen, and it drew that out fine, so I had no issues there. And then I'd obviously removed the outside line, and then when I came to the cutting, I just removed all the inside pieces, left that one outside line circle in place, and then put the blade back in and cut, so it just seemed to work fine. Then we've got my little windows. Now I actually don't think I'm going to need both of these pieces in the end, because you're not going to really see the back of the piece of card there, so I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I did it just in case. And then we've got our seagulls, our sun, etc. So it's all quite fun. So then the other thing it cut out was my piece of card with the aperture in. Now, as you know, originally I was going to make an A5 card, but I'm actually now going to do it as an 8x8. So this obviously puts this to one side a little bit more than we wanted, perhaps. But what I thought would be quite fun is actually that it is slightly off centre, because that gives us more space over this side to put these elements down here. And I think it will actually end up looking balanced because of that. And then also I've got my netting to go across there as well. So I think it'll actually end up looking quite balanced. So I'm going to have to obviously cut that down to 8x8 or thereabouts to fit my card. Now for the actual card itself, I've got a pre-scored, pre-done 8x8 card, but if you don't have them ready done, if you look at one of my videos that's called Easy Peasy Cards, how to make an easy peasy card base, then it will show you how to make this easily yourself using 2 pieces of card stock that is pretty standard size card stock that you can get that 8x8 from. So now I've got 2 pieces of my Hunky Dory in this kind of gorgeous silvery blue, really pretty. So I want to pop that on the front and completely cover the front of my card with that. And then I also want to do the same on this one side on the inside, just to create a nice colour on the inside. And then, as I say, we'll cut off the edges. So, okay, so that's the front done, and then the inside. So that's just giving it a little bit of something on the inside just to make it look nice. And then we'll put the sentiment or whatever on there. So now we need to prep the piece of card that we've got with the aperture. So what I want is for that to sit very slightly inside on all edges. So all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reverse it. I'm going to turn it over like so, and then I'm going to mark it. Now we want to make sure it's even with the aperture itself, so actually I want the aperture slightly higher, so I'm going to, hang on, I need to mark it on the right side actually, because otherwise I'm going to get confused. So I want to just mark it where I want to cut, which is there and there. And then all I'm going to do is get my trimmer, pop the card to one side for a minute, and then if I tell you, if I can, roughly how big I've done this, and it works out at 7 5/8. Okay, so there's our aperture, so it's very much over to one side. I think that's going to work because we're going to have all this stuff down here, we're going to have that there, we've got our, I don't know what you call it on a boat, I can't think, a steering wheel thing anyway, and anchor and all of that, so I think it looked quite nice over to the edge. I think it looked a bit different actually, having it slightly off centre. I think that would be quite fun. So then I need to get this, I want to make just to have a bit of texture, so I'm going to take this embossing folder by Sue Wilson, Basket Weave. Now I did have this one here that's the distressed stripes, which I think would work really well as well, but it's so small and I really can't bother to try and make that all match up. And I think what I'm doing, I think the basket weave will be just as nice. If I show you, I think it will just give it an effect. So I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm putting it up the top, and what I'm trying to do is make sure my pattern is kind of even on the sides. That looks about good, so that's in there. And then I've got my grand caliber. And we're just embossing, so we just need our raspberry plate and our base plate. So this is our base plate. Put that down first. Then that's the grey one, and it actually says base plate on it anyway, so it's kind of a clue. And then our raspberry plate is the D adapter plate, and that goes on top. And then I'm just going to pop that around like that. Run that through. Okay, so that's gone through now, and let's have a little look. I think that's just perfect for what I want, actually. So that's a really nice effect. It's quite subtle actually, and it's on the textured side because it's got that slight texture in the card itself, so I think that will look really good. So then what we need to do next is add we need to add our acetate and our little window. So I've got my acetate here, which I cut as a circle. That's going to stick on the back here. Oh, I think that's the wrong way. That's it, it's that way. There we go. So that's going to go down here. And I think we probably can do that with just some tape. Okay, so that's that done. So I'm turning it back over to the front. Then we're going to take one of these little windows, and I'm going to find the nicest one. And that's going to go on our acetate like so. And I think that one's the better of the two. So then I'm going to get some of my glue, wet glue, and just stick that down. So I've got my glue gel. I think that will work really nicely, and that will make sure it's nice and firmly held once it dries. It also might give just a tiny bit of dimension, which will be quite nice. I haven't got my syringe today on me, so I'm just going to put little tiny blobs all the way around the edge here, very carefully. Okay, so I've put the gel glue on all of those pieces, and then just looking from the front, making sure there's no pieces kind of stranding out too strongly. And then taking our piece of acetate, making it sure it's square, and if it's square on the mat with the grid underneath, I can then make sure my thing goes down square as well. So just very lightly just tapping it. I'm not trying to squish the glue, I'm just trying to make sure the adhesive is stuck to the bit underneath, so you just get a nice smooth look. Okay, so now we need to just get onto the card itself. Now what I probably should have done, and I'm just going to use my other circle to help me do, is actually mark up where this circle's going to be so that I can put my scene down. So I'm just going to use that one, and then I can, that's the outside edge, so I can then just gently draw around it. There we go. On there. And that was just a very delicate little line. I hope you can just catch it, and that will tell me where my scene is, so that when I stick my pieces down I know that it's going to be in the right place. So just popping that over there now, getting our elements, which I've left just sitting on the cutting mat, it was just easier. So that's going to kind of go there. There we go. And then I want my little boat. It's very delicate. You can sit in the water, just about kind of there. Okay. And then I think lastly on this bit is the seagulls. I just want to take these up a little bit. Okay, so I've placed these elements, I had a little play around, and what I needed to also see was how they fitted in regards to the circle, because like originally when I first put it down, the little sailboat flag was hidden, and it makes quite a difference I think when you look at it like this. So now I need to very carefully stick these pieces down. I'm going to chop a little piece off here as well, so that that kind of starts to fit a bit better without the risk of it showing. So we're just going to literally do that now. And then I'm going to get my glue and I'm going to start gluing pieces down, and I'm going to use my 3D glue gel again. It's nice and small pieces. And I've got my little stick here, so I should be able to do some of the smaller bits, okay. So I'm going to start with my little, I was going to call them butterflies, but I really don't mean butterflies, do I? There we go. First one down. So we're going to keep gluing these down now, and I'm just checking that I'm putting it in the right place as well, because it's easy to forget where you need them to go, so it's worth just checking that and then sticking it down. There we go. And then we're going to do the C next, which is definitely going to be raised up, so we're going to put a few blobs on that one. And it's all about just giving that dimension, even though it's through that little porthole, it's still worth doing that. and just checking again how we like it through the little porthole. Okay, now I'm going to slide that over and that over, and then we're going to do the sun very carefully. And again, I want the sun quite flat really. Again, just before you completely press it down, just check you're happy with the position. That could come down a bit. And do the cloud. I need to push that over a bit because we don't want the edge to show. Yeah, like that. And then we're just going to put that little cloud in as well. So on these two, we just put a little bit more glue. And that one's going to go kind of there, I think. And again, that's just giving dimension, and I'll show you from the side exactly what I've done. And I think that looks good. I think that's come out okay. Okay, so that's stuck down, and I just now need to let that dry. Now I'm not going to put any kind of glitter or anything on this, like perhaps I would do if it was a lady's card, but this is for a guy, so I think I'll keep that kind of clean and simple. So what I am planning on doing, and I think I'll do, is putting some little drops of glossy accents on the back of this, as well as letting this front piece dry. And I can leave that now like that and let it dry so that it looks like little water droplets. I think that would look kind of cute for the image. And then these pieces can all be drying at the same time, and then once that's all dry we can then start working on the front of the card. And I've just got a little bit of stickles. I don't want to go crazy because it is a guy's card, but I do think just on the top here of our water it just would look correct, because it would look like C. So just do that, and I think that will just give that a nice look. So I've just added that, and then I want to pop that to one side to dry, because I can't really do anything now until that's dry. And this piece is drying on the front here, so I'm going to very carefully turn it over so I don't dislodge it. And I'm going to take my glossy accents, as long as I don't move this around too much, the underneath can dry the wrong way up. And then I can take my glossy accents and put almost like little raindrops on it. So I'm just trying to see which way's up. I kind of want it to run down actually. So okay, have a quick look from the other side. I think that looks quite cute. I'm just going to let it sit like that for a minute so the weight of the droplet falls like it would in real life. And I'm just going to very gently grab this a minute just to make sure. And yeah, I think that's going to look really nice when that's clear. Okay, so just gently kind of tapping that so my little glossy accents fall in the right direction to get the weight correctly. And now I'm going to just pop that down like that, and we're going to really, I think, give this overnight to dry to be sure that everything's really solid, because I don't want to risk damaging anything by putting things together. I think it's important to let this just settle down nicely before we do any more on it. Okay, so we'll come back to you in a minute, but for me overnight, I think. Okay, so this is now dried overnight and it's completely solid, and as you can see there's just a small amount of dimension, not a lot. We just kept that, and there's a little bit of glue on the front there, but that doesn't matter, it's not going to show, that's past the line. But the glitter, I think, it's just added a little bit of something to the card there, which is nice. And then on the here, our little raindrops have completely dried and they're completely crystal clear, and that little wobbling I did has given them that raindrop look as well. So then we're going to turn that over, and that's going to sit down on here so that we get this really cool window effect. But what I want on this is I want to create dimension, so I want it to sit on there like that, so it's just sitting kind of on the C, which is kind of the highest thing, and that's kind of my guide, so it's going to sit like that. And you could use foam pads if you wanted to, that would work quite well, or you could create like little W's at the side out of card that squish down flat like that. But I think because my C is already up, I'm going to probably use the foam pads or even my glue gel, to be honest. Probably the glue gel, because then I can wriggle this around into position. So I'm going to not need this background now for a little bit. We've kind of done what we need on this piece, so I'm just going to be taking this piece for the moment and we're going to be working on that. Okay, so what I want to do first of all is just kind of work out where certain things are going. For example, my meshing, I think that's kind of one of the most big sort of elements of this front, and this is going to be sort of this net thing, like either like a fishing net, or even you get these kind of nets that carry stuff when you're in a boat, because obviously things fall off shelves, so they have like little net things, little sort of almost like baby hammocks. So I thought I would do something along those lines using this mesh. I mean, obviously that's too thin, but just sort of like so. I think what I'll do actually is just keep it folded this end and cut a piece off, because it should then unfold. Okay, so let's just cut along, and that's probably almost certainly going to be too deep that way, but it's better to have too much than not enough. Okay, and then as I unroll it, that'll be a lot easier, I think. That folded back on itself in half, not too tidy now, because I kind of want edges, and then the same again. So we're going to kind of just somehow fold it like so to create this sort of hammocky look. You've got to give the illusion that it's hanging. I think that's too many layers. I don't want it as thick as that. Let's cut in half, because you just can't see through it, it's not working. I'm keeping the bit that actually's got the two cut ends, because I quite like that kind of rough and ready look at the end. Yeah, quite like that. So let's put a knot in this end here. Oh, that's giving me goosebumps. Oh, I don't like it. Oh. Completely covered in goosebumps. Oh. Mm. There we go. Turn it around, see if that works better. And then put a knot this end. kind of going over the window a bit, so I just want to have a look, trying to sort of work out before I do the twine and all that, let's position things a little bit. So we've got these down here, and I've got this happy birthday sentiment, and I was thinking possibly, but I don't know if it'll fit, but I was thinking that would go, no, that's not going to work on that side, so let's pop him over there. We might need to put something behind that, just in plain round cardstock, so that it looks a bit better. I think that's going to look okay if there's something behind that one. And then we've got the 100, you see, and we've got our little bits that are supposedly, unless we put this down here, I've got my little crab and stuff to go in there, and maybe the binoculars. I'm thinking now the binoculars might look better as part of this, but no. Just fiddling around at this point, really. Whoops. They're slightly sticky on the back where I'd used adhesive on the back of the cardstock to help it stick when I was cutting out and on the silhouette, and it's made it slightly sticky. Yeah, I like that behind there. That works for me. I like the flag up there. That could have the 100 on it and stamp the date. I think what I'd like to do is just rough this up a bit, this paper, maybe put a bit of inking on it just to around the edges to give it some colour. But otherwise I'm fairly happy with that. So let's put these pieces now back out the way. So this is what I do, just play around with it, and then we know what we want, and then we can move it out the way, because otherwise you end up trying to put something on and it's not really right. And I was just thinking the other thing that would be quite cute is to put some of this twine on to make it look like rope, so we'll probably put that somewhere as well. I'm just going to wrap it around my finger. Try again. Didn't do a figure of 8 properly, I only started. That's it. I'm just trying to tie it in the middle here. So I've done a figure of 8 and I've threaded that one through there, and then I'm just going to try and tie it at the front of, towards the front of my fingers, so it holds it. There we go. Whoops. There. It's kind of like a bow actually, isn't it? So there's just some rope, and we can pop that on our little basket there as well, which kind of looks quite cute. I like that. Okay, so now just going back to where we were on here, just going to grab my little block here. This isn't the sanded paper, so it may or may not work very well. Yeah, this isn't going to sand because it's not that sort of paper, so that's fine. I'm just going to instead take a piece of cardstock spare and my sponge, and I've got some warm grey Anna Griffin ink, which I thought would look quite nice, and it's quite a grubby sponge, which is what I wanted as well, because again it's giving that kind of illusion of it not being perfect. And then I'm just going to go on here. Just go around these edges a little bit in the corners. There we go. I'm not too worried that there's a little blob there because I'll cover that with the piece that's going down this, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so now we need to get gluing. So let's think, what do we want to glue first? I think this one. So the first thing I want to do, I think, is just glue this netting down. Now what I want to do really is probably glue a couple of these pieces to the netting first. So I'm just going to get my scrap, and then I've got my gel glue again. And I'm just going to carefully take a blob and then lift the element and just pop a blob of the glue down, which is easier said than done because this stuff wants to stick. So I'm adding my little piece of rope, inverted commas, rope, and then I'm going to get my little crab, stick him down. So again, I'm just going to put a blob on the back of the crab for this one, and then I'm going to put the crab's claws either side of the piece of that cloth, and then my starfish is just in there, and again, whoops, just going to put a blob on the back of my starfish, and I'm going to very carefully put a tiny blob just in here behind, just to hold that in place because I want it to stay where I want it to stay rather than moving about. And then I'm going to stick my starfish in there like so. So that's good. So then we're going to take my little corner here. So it's going to go across here, and hopefully we're getting this in the right place. Kind of there, I think. Okay, so fingers crossed that's all in the right place. I'm going to put the blob and a blob there. So now let's get our other elements. I'm going to put those down the bottom here. So I just want to make sure that my anchor's covering that little blob because that was a blob I didn't want. And then this piece can stand up, so let's put the anchor down first. So just taking my glue gel again, I'm just going to put that on the back. There we go. One anchor down, that's good. Then we're going to put a blob of glue on the back of our thingy. What's it there? Yeah. Okay, so I've just got the ship's wheel here. I haven't really gone up on the little pointy bits. I don't know what they're called, little handles, because I just felt that it would be too much, like it just wouldn't work because I'm just going to hopefully that down there like so. There we go. On this section is the little binoculars. So I'm just going to take those again and just put the glue on the back. And then just pop those down like so. So that's that corner done. Then that one's going here in this corner. So again, just a blob of glue, gel on that in the middle. And a bit of a squish. Perfect. And then before I put this little flag up here, I need to put the 100 on it. Okay, so I'm getting the little numbers and I'd cut them out on the white and I'd actually coloured those in the blue. So I'm just grabbing those now and I'm going to put my zig pen on the back so that we've just got the adhesive on there. Okay, so that's the flag done. So just pop those bits back. And then we need the actual front back again. And that's going down just about like that. But I think before I do that, I just want to put a little black rad in the front of that. And I've got one here. Now, on this occasion, I can't split the pin because there's two, it would stick out. So I'm just pushing it to the one side. And I think that just finishes that off nicely. And then this piece is going to be going over the edge like that, so we're just going to have it on there. And this is a 100th birthday card, that's why it's got the 100 on it. Obviously it's relevant, but I just suddenly thought I hadn't explained. So that's that piece done. Okay, so I'm thinking that it needs something up here and also maybe just a little bit of colour. So I thought the blue would be really nice. And I've got this scrap of blue and what I thought was I'd make like a little scrolly thing and I could write the date on, make it kind of like a little map as well. So I'm going to leave it at this rough edge. I think it's quite cool with the rough edge. And I might even do it on the wrong side, which will be smoother, which is easier to write on as well. So I'm just going to do it about 2.5 inches, it's a bit wide, maybe about 2 inches. I'm going to take a little bit off this edge here because I don't want that piece, and then I can go across because I want some of the shape. And then we'll go, I don't know, about 2.5 inches wide, I think. I prefer this bit. So that's 2 inches. So it's just having a compare between that one and that one for the edges. I'm just having a look. And I prefer this one at the moment, but we'll keep both. And then I'm going to take my score tool here and I'm just going to start bending it. So just creating a curve, and then I can roll this up hopefully. So I'm just going to get a bit of double-sided tape and stick that edge so that as it rolls down it sticks it in place, and that will help hold it in place. So just on this edge here, put that tape. And then roll it up tight on that edge. There we go, and that's stuck now. I'm just trying to push it out that side a little bit so it kind of looks. And before, actually, sorry, I've still done it wrong. Before I roll this, I want to write in the date and also kind of draw like a map on it. Okay, so I've got this calligraphy pen. So I'm trying to make it look not too. There we go. I didn't want it to look too kind of finished and done. I've got some green on there as well, so that makes it look very mappified, doesn't it? There we go. And I've got some Sharpies here, so they're kind of fun. And I thought we'll just go around the edges with those. I've got gold here. So I'm just going to go along this edge with the gold so it looks like it's like a finished gold trimmed map thing. Whoops, I forgot I had tape on that edge. And then I'm just taking that pen and I'm just, where I've blobbed green ink, I can go around the edge and make it look like land. And that'll probably be enough because it's not going to show much more than that. There we go. And then taking this little map, just roll it up. Like so. And I'm just trying to push that edge out a bit so again it's not all perfect. Just check whether that's going to fit. Yep, so now I need to just again get a bit more tape and stick that along just on here. I'm just pop it on the map as it were, just on that edge there. There we go. So just then that's it. And then just getting my gold pen again and also the sponge. So we're going to ink that edge up so it looks kind of old, the same. And then we're going to get my gold pen and just go around all those edges so that it looks part of that map. And don't forget to go on all the layers and go around the back as well, because you want it to look consistent if they look at it from the other angle. There we go. Perfect, just what I wanted. So then I'm going to take this and some glue. Okay. I'm just going to spread that around a little bit so it's not quite so blobby. And then we're going to pop that so it just slides a little bit under that edge there, like so. And I think that just finishes that whole thing off lovely, actually. So that's the front of the card done. So I'm just going to pop this piece to one side for a minute and that will start drying a little bit. And I'm just going to have a little look on this here and see if we can't add a little something to it. And then to finish off the inside, I'm just going to take my little rope, just wind that back around, and pop that down on the corner there, like so. It's just quite pretty, and it will still shut enough for what we're doing, so that's going to be fine. And then we're going to need to attach the front of our card to the inside of our card. So what we need to do is just very gently, or wait for it to dry completely, whichever, but I'm too impatient, very gently just turn that over, and then using either your double-sided tape. If you're using double-sided tape, I would recommend that you put the tape on before the foam tape, before you actually do all the front. Obviously with the glue gel I can't do that. Okay, so now carefully picking that up, grabbing our front here, or top, and then getting the top piece, and then just very carefully lining up the corners, and then just very gently with your fingers squidging that glue so it starts to feel, you can feel it attaching. And that is our finished card. I think that looks so cool. And I think for me actually, I really liked it, and then I put the map on and it just, that was when it was like, yeah, that's it, got it. That was like the finishing piece that I hadn't planned. I thought about doing some sort of scrolls or something, but I hadn't planned it. I didn't quite know if it would work, and now I've put it on. I'm really, really pleased. And then we've obviously got the inside. We've just got that little extra detail in there of the rope, because it's already quite thick, so it really doesn't matter. It is incredibly heavy on the front, which is why I wanted the extra card on the inside to create balance. And there's a closer view of our little window. You can see how the little droplets come together, and I just think it looks really, really nice. I hope you like it too. I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. I'd really love to hear your comments, and I will see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!